Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to your weekend edition. Tis the trading week wrap-up for TraderMerlin show. Hope you had a great day, great month for most of these major market indexes, which I will start by looking at those ones. Before I do, shout out to my friend Wendy and Tyler for grabbing me a nice little bottle of Ohishi whiskey. I normally don't drink Japanese whiskeys, but I've gotten a few of them lately, and I tell you, it's a totally different hit than it is from them bourbons and ryes. So cheers, everybody. Happy Friday to you all. Hoorah. All right. Let me go into the topic du jour. We're going to start talking, obviously, about the trading week wrap-up. But as you know, it is March 1st, which means that we have a bit of review wrap-up, if you will, to cover with regards to what the markets have done for this month. And I would say it wasn't mixed. It was actually a pretty good month. I'm actually doing a little bit of adjustment here. Oh, good. They're all in order. Man, I'm on point today. Let's start things off and work our way from the bottom to the top with regards to what markets did. Boom. What a rally this week, Pepe says. Yeah, but not in everything. What do you guys think was, well, for the week, yes. What do you think was the best performing of our 8 segments that I cover here on TraderMerlin? What was the best performing for the month of February? It should be no surprise. It was over a 46% gain. Most of you should probably nail that. So it's probably what's the second best would be the an easier one to answer. Let me start with the month of February, what we did. We'll start at the bottom, work our way up from the bottom. I'm not sure why. You got dollar index down here at negative 0.29. However, that should not be there. Nope, there we go. I went the wrong way. Get out of here, Merlin. 1 second. Yeah. Huh, that's weird. It brought up the wrong thing. I'm not sure why this is there. What is going on, Merlin? My screen is completely messed up. Huh. Okay, well, I don't know why it's not bringing it up. It's actually the worst performer is the 10-year. So that should actually be your number one on the list here. So let me bring that 10-year into number one position. There we go. Now I got it in order. That's what we get for last-minute preparation. Yeah, everybody knew that. Bitcoin's number one. But let's look at the worst to first. Worst performer, crude oil, down 1.74% for the month of February. Let's bring up that chart here so we can all see that one as we progress through all these pieces of data. It was your best performer on the day. Interesting that for the month it's down 1.74%, but for the day, up 1.97%. So it would have been down a lot more than it finished at. Now, what was really great here, at least for me, and looking at the crude oil chart, notice what's happened here. We had a significant, wait, hold on a second. This is completely incorrect. I'm completely wrong. Here, I like to do these things and get them all set up, but from the first, there's no way. Yeah, that's 10.4%. So I feel like I'm not even going to do these right. Yep. Must have been AI, Tom. It was the AI messed it up. I'll go through them one by one with real charts because for whatever reason, my data feels like it was messed up, and I'm not sure exactly why I'm seeing this data incorrect like that, but I will do my best to make sure it looks right. So I'll do it this way. It's easier. So for the month, we had crude oil up 10.4%. Now, why is this probably the most important piece of the week? You guys know because you watch the show every day, but the reason that I think this is the most important piece of data for the week, come on, TJ, he's not even drinking today. I mentioned that we talked about the inflation data, which we're going to have some more inflation numbers coming up here soon. That inflation data number was driven predominantly by housing prices, which is why they've seen prices decline. And then we also talked about energy prices, which were on a monumental slide for quite some time. And now all of a sudden they're starting to tick back up. To have a move up of 10% in energy, which was roughly 8% of the CPI calculation, this is going to start to have an impact on our inflation data. And I saw an analyst today say that he feels that they're going to have 0 rate cuts this year, that they're going to keep it exactly the same, if not raise it. I'm starting to lean that way. I'm starting to feel like it's not going to be, this March meeting. I don't think it'll be maybe the June, July meeting, but I don't really see them looking for a need to cut rates here if, in fact, these numbers start to go. The other part that is really important, we've been talking about this chart pattern on crude oil, which is kind of an ascending triangle, right? You can tell that it bottomed out here in December 13th. and it's been making higher lows and higher highs ever since. But what's most important is we've now broken above this red line, which was at 79.29. And while it doesn't exactly cut through these peaks, to be fair, I could make it go through the absolute peak if you wanted, and that's going to be from this peak on November 14th. All right, I'll just fudge it a little bit. That number being 79.77, and we are at 79.81 right now. We officially have a close above that line, and to me that's very important because now all of a sudden any trader who's using technical analysis and looking to the left on their charts, as we're all taught to do, is going to look at this and go, uh-oh, we've now broke through these peaks. Where's that next stopping point? And I think that's why we saw this rip today. Now, it did rip up, it came back down, and while it did close above that line, it's not a convincing break. I will say that. Now, if we zoom out a little bit on crude oil, you got to start asking yourself, where's the next one? Where's the next big stopping point? And, the obvious piece is going to be right here at 80.82. That's because of this big move that shot down on November 7th and 8th, right? That was a big move down. Other than that, I don't see anything in here, at least from the daily chart, that has me believing that there's going to be any real strong supply to prevent this from moving higher. So if we get above that 80.82, I think you've got some really smooth sailing. It would fit the picture of this higher high, higher low uptrend that's in place since December. All in all, I think crude oil is looking really good for the intermediate to longer term. So, while it was 10.4% gain for the week, I think this is probably the most important chart because this could have an impact on inflation. This could have a trend of its own, which is what I see happening here. So all in all, love it. Let's see. I'll get to all these ones here in just a second. Let's talk about silver. Yep. I'm going to just move down the list and we'll just mark them out that way. Your next one here, gold and silver, both had good pops today. Why is that? Let's put on our thinking caps. If we're seeing energy prices rise and we're seeing, the yields didn't do much this month. Yields were kind of weaker out there. I believe the yield was down about 1.7% for the month. If inflation is in fact not under control and then the Fed may delay its rate cuts, that puts extra pressure on the inflation debate, which means commodity prices like gold and silver might do rather well. So we saw gold surge up here today. Let's go and give you what the month numbers are. I always like just doing an end of the month review just so I have them all in one place. So here is February 1st. I'll go from the the close on February 1st to the close on March 1st. So 0.99%. So just slightly up. It was down most of the month of February, came roaring back. And if it wasn't for today's candle, some might call this a God candle. I love that term, the God candle. Just a gigantic green candle, what that means. If we didn't have that nice surge today, really probably would have been a negative month for gold. On the day, up 1.8% for GC. All right, moving down the line here, NASDAQ, which of course had another spectacular month. I will show you from where we closed on February 1st to where we are right now. You had a 5.08% move up in the NASDAQ 100. So all in all, a fantastic move for the last month of worth of trading. Another 5% coming on the heels of, let's see, what was it the month before that, just to get our exact numbers. Let's go from January, first day of January close to where we closed on February. You had 4.29% for January, 5% for February. It has been a fantastic rally here for the NASDAQ. And right now, it doesn't feel like it's wanting to stop. I can't believe it. I'll be honest. It just seems insane to me that tech keeps pushing and pushing and pushing, but it is what it is, and it's going to continue to move on up until it does not. Big Ed was calling for this turn back in October, right? I had been short at this point and got stopped out, which is great. And I actually went long on this little Harami formation on the NASDAQ. I remember I ended up going long. I think I had 80 call options, and I dumped those right before that FOMC announcement, which was November 1st. Boy, in hindsight, what a difference a quarter makes. Like, shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? This is why shoulda, coulda, woulda should be removed from your vocabulary. Oh, I should have, I could have, I would have. No, you didn't. Shut up and move on, right? You're like, leave it alone, Merlin. You dumped your whole position on Tuesday, or it was Tuesday, the 31st of October is when I dumped my whole position long, and look what it's done ever since. Has not stopped. Bob had always said the monthly is the strongest. Yep, and Bob would be right. I mean, I guess technically skilled, it's not correct. You could say that the annual chart is the strongest, but come on, no one's trading off an annual chart. Yeah, Pepe, I was in a pretty big position, but it was a shorter term thing. It was 40 or 80. Honestly, I can't remember. It was 40 or 80, but I was only in it for 2 days, and I was a little bit disappointed because obviously, looking back at it, you're like, why didn't I just keep those a little bit long? And they were directional. I didn't sell calls. I was long on those ones. Yes. Owen, great day for day trading. Yep, you had some fantastic, nice moves. So let me continue on. I want to make sure I get through all of these. You had, let's see, this was... I'm already messing up my numbers, but NQ, we had 5%. And then let's move up to the Russell, or down to the Russell, which for the month still can't break to all-time highs, but let's go to February 1st right here. We're going to go to the close of that one, which is there. And for the month of February, the Russell putting in a respectable 4.82% for IWM. Sorry, I'm writing these things down because for some reason my screen is all messed up. Yeah, Oliver says, that would have been nice, Merlin. Yeah, well, unfortunately, I'm out. Yep. Big Ab, you're absolutely right. You know as well as everybody here that you nailed it. And if you're still holding those protective stops better be moving higher and higher and higher because all good things come to an end. Everybody knows that. It's just a matter of when. Man, it feels like we're long in the tooth. However, I'm not like... traders who have been subpoenaed out of Chicago who've had their trading records subpoenaed and show that they don't make money. I actually trade, and I know that this is going to correct. But to be fair, I have been calling for a correction on this for a while, and it hasn't come. Right? Every time I go short, I take losses. So right now, almost everything I'm doing to the bullish side is making me good money. It's the shorting that's been killing me. So you're like, Merlin, then stop shorting. It's in my DNA. I gotta short these markets. Next, that was the Russell 2000, 4.82%. S&P, though, goodness gracious, look at even better. Does it get any better than this? I mean, really, it's just phenomenal. Let's go, 4.41%. So SPY, 4.41%. Again, great month, not as good as the NASDAQ, not as good as the Russell, although it is at all-time highs. Hard to argue this picture right here. It's just been rally-based rallies for month after month after month. Goodness, S&P 500 all-time high closing 51.46. Not only all-time high closing, but all-time high print today as well. It's intraday high for those of you who are following along, 51.49. So we're only 3 points off the high to the close. That is a very bullish sign going into the weekend. Okay, dollar index. All right, finally something that has a slight weakness to it. Nothing overly dramatic here, but let's go back to, there's the closing price for that one, to where we closed today. You still had gains of 0.79%. 0.79%. Pepe says, most OT instructors have been trying to call the market correction crash. Yeah, well, it's just, the reason for it, Pepe, is the irrational moves of these markets. If you look at the data that came out today, you had bad data. Right? Consumer confidence is down. A lot of the other metrics that came out, and I'll show you that data today. The data isn't like, holy cow, amazing. It's not showing this robust, unbelievably stellar market. Now, next week we get some unemployment data. We got a couple central banks reporting. You have 5 pieces of unemployment or of employment data next week. But I don't think the employment situation is an issue here in the U.S. I don't really think that's that big of a deal. I think construction spending was significantly lower than what I was expecting. I was expecting positive. As you get closer to these summer months, you start to see construction spending picking up. It's actually showed contraction for the next one. I was interested. Pepe says the markets are designed, correct, they're designed to go up. However, they're not designed to go up at this rate of ascent, right? When you have, this is like, the markets, in my opinion, are like someone running the 100-yard dash. You get that full surge, that sprint, and then they stop and put their hands on their knees and catch their breath, and they wait to do the next race. So it's like a fast sprint up, a slow decline pullback, and then all of a sudden a fast sprint. What we're watching here is a sprinter that's running like the 15K, the 1500K, completely different race. And typically those tire out, but money's pouring in. And again, markets can remain irrational longer than I can remain solvent. So I will just let it be and continue to go. I mean, the best trades I've had this year have been selling puts on stocks that have been crushed. It seems 100 meters, 40 meters, 40 meters, 100 meters, whatever market. We get the point. It's just this picture looks a bit irrational, especially when you look back in the context of, this, it just keeps on going and going and going and going. And some people think we're going to get this next leg like we did here in 2020 when we just surged up to the tune, let's put the numbers on here, to the tune of roughly 121%. Man, what an amazing run. Well, how are we doing now? From those lows we saw back in October, we are currently on the S&P up 25%. Okay, put that in perspective. That's October, all right? So you got October, November, December, January. 4 months, you're up 25%. A lot of people in the room right now going, well, that equates to a 75% gain for the year, which may actually hit someone's target on our list here. So I don't think you're going to get that kind of move. We just haven't rounded the corner yet on this inflation plus our debt issue. And you may have noticed my graphic for today was specifically targeting the debt issue. Obviously, the debt ceiling piece, which I'll talk to just a second here once we get through our top 10 for the month of February. All right, let's keep on going. So S&P was a 4.41%. Dollar index we had on the screen here, a slight increase of 0.79. So I'm going to write that one down as well. Let's go dollar, 0.79. And then I've got two left. Here's Bitcoin. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. I need to get that sound effect on this show because every time I mention Bitcoin's chart, I'm going to have to just play that voice sample. Here's where we were on February 1st. The Bitcoin price chart closed on February 1st. We closed at 43,275. Today we close at 63,825 is where it's at. That's a 47% increase. Just incredible move. And I do believe we will have some pullbacks here, but I definitely believe we are going to go higher. Yeah, Bitcoin is ballistic, Oliver. And I feel like a broken record, and I don't want to keep saying stuff over and over again in the show, but sometimes it bears repeating. It's because of that spot Bitcoin ETF. You now have millions of people able to buy it. How many of you have had somebody in the last month ask you about Bitcoin? Like, how do I buy Bitcoin? Where do I buy Bitcoin? I've had a lot more people asking this, specifically people asking about the Bitcoin ETF and in their IRA accounts. Now, I've had this before where people said, are there Bitcoin IRAs? But these are people I thought were pretty astute with their finances, didn't want to touch crypto, but they were like looking at it going, I want to get some exposure. And they were going to companies that specialize in Bitcoin IRAs. Now, all of a sudden, the door is open to anybody that has a self-directed IRA. And I've gotten a lot of calls, a lot of people asking me, hey, which Bitcoin ETF should I use? Which one do you like? I'm like, look, I'm not a financial advisor. Take your pick. There's so many. G3 says, I've had 7 people ask me about it. Yeah. And this is the point I'm making is now all of a sudden, it's opened the door to mainstream investments, which it's going to bring in more and more and more and more. It's now one of the most popular ETFs in the retail space. So every time a new person buys, let's say they buy $63,000 worth of this Bitcoin ETF, right? That means that BlackRock, let's go to IBIT. Let's add the volume here. I mean, look at the elevated volume. Today, it was a declining day, but it's still 34 million shares of this were traded. Now, every time someone buys $68,000 or $63,000 worth of this Bitcoin, that means that they have to go buy a physical coin. You have to go to some open market and buy $68,000 worth of Bitcoin because it's supposed to be 1 for 1. For every dollar that's in that, there's $1 worth of Bitcoin. So more demand for these things is going to continue to spike this one. And the second wave, which I don't believe we've experienced yet, I think that's what's going to happen after the election. I think when we get to November and December of this year, we will see corporations, more of a green flag for corporations to have it on their balance sheet. You'll hear more companies adding. I'm not saying their whole balance sheet, but again, Apple's got $40-50 billion in cash. If they did 1%, you're talking hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin on their balance sheet. That's taking it out of supply. So the best is yet to come, in my opinion. GS3 says, I hope it hits $100,000 soon. Let me do a real quick poll. I know I don't do enough polls because I have to start talking about them. Let's see. I'm going to do this one. Once I had to put in my third choice. All right, so for all of you right now, will Bitcoin, don't type it in the chat. I'm going to put a poll up here for you. We've reached 100K. Oh man, it's so tough to type and do this by end of year. There you go. Here's your poll. Will Bitcoin hit 100,000 at any point between now and the end of the year? What do you guys think? You know, it's a tricky one. I think that we're going to get a lot of volatility, more volatility than usual on this. I think you're going to get some big moves up, some big moves down. But right now, that momentum is surging. And if you think about where we've come from in just a short few months, you know, people going, no, 100,000 just seems way too far. Well, look at the Bitcoin spot chart. If I go from the low point here, which was January, to just that January point, 63% gain. I put who cares, Pepe? I put who cares in there. If you want to go back here to our low point we had in 2023, right? So we're not even a year old. Bitcoin has already moved 157%. So it's, you know, in my opinion, I would have to put myself in the yes category. My initial observation was we're going to see it slowly trickle up. However, the success, the unbridled enthusiasm that we have for Bitcoin's ETF, spot ETF, I think we'll push it to 100,000 by the end of the year. Now, obviously, I'm upset with this. I have to say I'm upset because my goal has been to get to 10 Bitcoin. I want to be a double-digit Bitcoin owner, and I don't think I'm going to get there. It's just not going to happen. Ken says maybe even before the halving. Ken, that would be really aggressive. But before the halving means that we're going to see it by the end of April. By May 1st, reaching 100,000. I think that might be a little bit aggressive, but I really do think you're going to see it by the end of the year. I think you'll see it reach 100K by the end of this year, and then by the end of next year, at least 250. I know. For those of you who are whole coiners, my Bitcoin enthusiasts, that's music to your ears, I'm sure. But again, that's all just a hypothesis, right? It could come crashing back down, so don't put all your eggs in that basket. Cheers to Satoshi Nakamoto on this wonderful Friday evening, the 1st of March. Okay, let me continue on here. So Bitcoin, clearly the juggernaut, the one you just kind of, your jaw hangs down and goes, my goodness. I mean, wow. And if we put this on a monthly, look what's happened since the spot Bitcoin ETF was approved. All right, here is where my cursor is at, is the beginning of January. All right, and now all of a sudden, February is really where we went ballistic. And we'll see if we get to all-time highs. I think we could very easily see all-time highs next week. I mean, the all-time high is 69,590 on the Bitcoin futures. We could eclipse that. And I will tell you this, once we get through the all-time high, it's going to be that big surge because now all of a sudden, everybody's going to be talking about how Bitcoin's back at all-time highs. It's crazy to think that just, a year and a half ago, it was like, oh, man, Bitcoin's going to go back down to 3,000. Oh, man, Bitcoin's going to go down to, this level back here. Oh, gosh. That was the talk track. We talked about 15,000 in my CIL. We actually got down to right at 15. I mean, the low was 14,925. So, unfortunately, I did not load the boat back there, but I was buying. I bought quite a bit of monetary value, not of Bitcoin. I didn't buy a whole coin, but definitely got close to another one for my portfolio. Bitcoin could have an NVIDIA move. I would make an argument that it's already having an NVIDIA move. Here's Bitcoin's chart. There's NVIDIA's chart. So NVIDIA is having what looks to be a better move now, but if you go all time, Bitcoin's better. Man, God, that NVIDIA chart is just the thing of beauty. If this is where we nerd out as traders, like there's like a meme going around. It's like what women want or what men want, right? It's some women complaining about men and how all they want is, big boobs and perfect hair and fake lips and all that stuff. And then it shows the guy and it says, what does he want? And he's just dreaming of this chart right here. That's what we really want. Show me a chart. Get me long on a chart of NVIDIA from 2008 to where it is today. That's adult entertainment right there. I love it. Is Solana at an all-time high? No, Solana has a long way to go till it gets to an all-time high. Solana had a magnificent fall from grace initially. It was way higher than it was. Let me bring up Sol. right? So Solana back here in 2021 hit a high price of 259, and we're only at 131. So it has a long way to go back to get to all-time highs. However, it's been performing very well, very, very well. Ethereum will have the same move. Yep, I think so too. Bitcoin naysayers, hair is on fire. Hey, look, I got no problem with people being naysayers about anything. Everyone here is entitled to their own opinions. Everyone's entitled to disagree. What I don't deal with is hatred towards somebody because their opinion differs in you. So, you know, when someone says, oh, Bitcoin's a scam, and I'm like, whatever, that's okay. You don't have to buy it. Some guy was messaging me on Facebook just going after me because of OTA and why didn't I warn people. It's like, look, there's only a certain amount of information I knew about things that were going on. All I can do is conduct my business with the best integrity and the best intentions and hopefully help people along the way. You know, you made it out like I was robbing people of money. I'm like, dude, I'm not selling anything. I do education because I enjoy talking about this stuff. So if someone doesn't like it, you don't have to watch the show. If you don't like Bitcoin, don't have to buy it. It's okay. Check out Shiba Inu. Margaret, don't get me started on Shiba Inu. All right, let me finish off here first. Let me get to this top, and then we'll go to Shiba Inu, because I know Shiba Inu has been nuts. Here's the 10-year. The reason I bring this up is it's been one of the more quiet ones that we've looked at. Let's go to here, go back to the daily. It's been one of the more quiet markets. Now, still for the month, we did see yields increase, right? Your yield increase for the 10-year, it jumped 7.78%, went from 3.88% to 4.18%. And again, because rents are such rents are such a high part of the CPI calculation, this may start to have an impact on inflation. So the two biggest components in inflation are rent and energy. This impacts rent prices and this impacts energy prices. So keep your eye on that one, guys. Their CPI for the next couple months here are important, very, very important. Okay, so that was that. Let me run through here real quick. Set up a GoFundMe for your 10th Bitcoin. I don't think I could do that morally. If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it with my money. I would never ask anybody for money. Period. I would never ask you guys for money. Just it's outside of my moral back. My parents taught me early on: if you want something, you go earn it. You go get it, and you earn it. You know, at some point down the road, maybe I will start my own business, and if you guys want to support that, that's great. But no, I'm not going to do a GoFundMe page. Sell your Shiba Inu. I'm not. Okay, let's go look at Shiba Inu, because Margaret she's trying to get under my skin today, Margaret. Damn you. Let's go look at my... I don't even think I have it as a ticker on my watch list anymore, because it was delisted from one exchange. Yeah, I don't have it here. Let's look at Shiba. Oh, gosh. Remember, guys, Shiba Inu serves no purpose. There is no practical application for Shiba. Oh, my gosh. Wow. There's no practical application. This is a pump and dump cryptocurrency, which is up 78% in the last 7 trading sessions. Yeah. Wow. That's fantastic. Hey, congratulations. And if you make money on Shiba Inu, cool, great, I'm happy for you. Just please promise me you're not going to do it with all your money. When I look at, if you guys ever take the cryptocurrency course with me at OTA or wherever the cryptocurrency course may reside, I talk about portfolio distribution, and there's a small wedge in that portfolio that's the gamble account. This is gamble, right? Shiba Inu is a straight up gamble. It has no practical applications. It does not have a developer team. There's no use cases for it. This is a pump and dump coin, period. So what happens is some user group, some chat room, some whatever is pumping this thing. And yeah, you can make huge money on it. You know, I've talked about that one, and because Pepe is here today, let's see what Pepe is doing. Pepe was all over the place. Here's Pepe Tether. There's another ridiculous one. This thing is up 261% in the last 8 days. Here's the thing. I don't care. I'm not going to get caught up on it. I have some, I would say, speculative coins, but at least they're trying to do something. I don't hold any shit coins. I hold no completely useless coins with no development team or anything like that. I'm holding everything I hold. I analyze and I say, does this have the potential to change some aspect of our world as we know it today? And that's what I want in my portfolio. So yeah, it's great. It's fun to watch. Congratulations for anybody who's in that one. But you know, a lot of this crypto stuff is just ripping. We talk about things like Render. Love Render. Render's actually got a very good product, and they're killing it. Solana. Solana is now being integrated into a lot of other businesses. So they actually have development teams and community working around it. What else in here might be a good one? Let's scroll up here. Chainlink. Chainlink. Without Chainlink, we have no smart contracts. The whole ecosystem of smart contracts doesn't function. LivePeer. Yeah, decentralized shared computing. Fantastic idea. Filecoin. This is one that allows you to store all your documents in a encrypted, decentralized world as opposed to using like Amazon or Google Cloud. These are huge pieces, and all of these, or many of these, are trying to do something very targeted. You look at something like Bonk, not very important. I mean, this is a shill shitcoin. Even though I hate Celsius, here is Celsius's token. Of course, Celsius is going down, so is their token, but they were backing, a business backing this with Celsius tokens. So yeah, I like it, Margaret. Congratulations to anybody here who's holding Shiba Inu, but you won't see it on my portfolio unless I'm just day trading it. Koja says, your opinion about XRP. I've mentioned this one before, so I responded to a friend of mine today, a longtime friend, used to trade with him on the floor out in Irvine, California, named Roy. And he was talking about the 5 truths of Bitcoin on a post he made on his Facebook page today. And someone in there says, not for me. Not for me, for Bitcoin. And I commented in there and I said, it may not be to you right now, but digital money is the next logical evolution of anything that we have, right? We've had evolutions of music, we have information and telecommunications have all gone from an analog to digital. Money is the next biggest one, and it's far bigger than information is money, because there's money behind it. If you don't understand it and you don't follow it, you're going to get left behind. I mentioned on yesterday's show, or on Wednesday's show, I've got a friend who's like doesn't like AI, refuses to talk about it, doesn't even want to think about it, doesn't want to use it. I'm like, you're going to get left behind. You have to be using and understand AI implications, because it might impact your job, and you can now maybe proactively start looking for something else, or how to integrate AI and make your job performance even better to secure your position there. Ripple was around 2017. They were talking about changing the whole payment system for the world, and I was like, yes. I loaded the boat on Ripple. I still have like 25,000 Ripple, and I bought it because Ripple had this great idea, phenomenal idea, that let's replace this financial system from the 1950s called SWIFT. So you guys may have heard of SWIFT. It's a French company that basically is what sends payments around the world. So if you want to wire money from your Chase Bank to a relative in, Australia, or a friend in Canada, or, a ransomware in Russia, you're probably going to do that through SWIFT. It's a messaging service. It's old. It's very slow. Could take days for your money to get there. There's big fees on it, and there's not a lot of trackability of things. A lot of problems with that system. I mean, it's done in the 1950s. We're talking a system that's 74 years old. So it's about time for an upgrade. No one here is driving a 74-year-old car. If you do, it's because it's a classic, not because it's not because it's efficient and performs well in our current standards. So Ripple is going to replace that and say, we're going to go purely digital. Transactions don't take 2 days. They take 4 seconds. You can send up to $1 quadrillion and snap the finger, 4 seconds. No one will say yay or nay. If the money's there, you can send it. A much better system. However, because of Ripple's issues with the SEC regarding it being an unregistered security, they got hammered. And I think that put a big setback to their development. You have a project out there called Stellar Lumens, which is doing something very similar. And many other projects have stepped up to be that payment network. Now, there's also something called ISO 20002, I think. Yeah, I think that's what it is, 2002 or 2002. That is a standard for these digital assets to communicate with our traditional banking system. So that's the new protocol, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. That protocol is being put out there with by the Fed, is saying you need to be ISO 2022. I forget exactly off the top of my head. You need to be compliant in that. Ripple is one of those, and there's several others that are compliant for that protocol. It might be of your interest to look at which companies there are. Let me see real quick. I'll just do it here for you. Which companies or which cryptos are ISO? Koja, thank you very much. It's ISO 222. So here you go. If you want to know which ones are these ISO compliant, Ripple, Cardano, Quant, Algorand, Stellar Lumen, Hedera Hashgraph, IOTA, and XDC. So I own Ripple, I own Cardano, I own Algorand. I sold all my Stellar when it did its big pop. But all of these could potentially replace our current payment system, or at least advance the payment system. So I think Ripple has lost its competitive advantage. I would be watching Cardano because of its low fees and its decentralized nature. Remember, Ripple XRP is not decentralized. It is not decentralized. It is a totally centralized entity. It's run by, I think, 4 or 5 computers. That's dangerous. That defeats the point of a lot of crypto projects, is decentralization. So, long-winded answer there to Koja's question about Ripple. I own it. I will not be buying any more Ripple. I don't think that it will be the payment network for the world. What happened in, I think it was 2017, is Ben Bernanke went to Canada and spoke at their conference. It was called Swell, was the name of the Ripple event. And he actually commented afterward on how interesting and the potential for digital assets. And that's really what caused me back in 2017 to say, I'm buying in, right? If central banks are going to be using this stuff, then this is where money's going to evolve to. That was my thinking in 2017. However, I think what happened is Ben Bernanke went back to the FOMC members and said, we need to start thinking about this right now because digital money is coming. And that's what we've seen them working on their central bank digital currencies, or the CBDC, which of course President Trump says that if he's elected, he will not let that happen. I personally think that over the course of time, it's an inevitability. I think there's nothing you can do about it. Just understand it and figure out how to deal with it in the best way. I think we're going to get a digital currency in time. Maybe not in the next administration or the one after that, but certainly in the next decade, we'll move over to it. It just makes sense from a time perspective. So thank you, Koja. Cheers for the question. Thank you for the contribution. I appreciate that. If I had to rate Ripple on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being absolute garbage, 10 being the greatest thing I've ever seen, Ripple's going to be a 6. It's nice. I mean, they've got a team, but it's a centralized business. I'm really personally focusing on decentralized ones. All right, great question. I was only going to do a 30-minute show today, but I see a ton of questions coming through here, so let me end the poll real quick. So, per our poll, I have 77% of people think that Bitcoin will hit 100,000 by the end of the year. Of course, that's all of us who are long. 11% of you said no, because you're probably not long and you want to buy it cheaper. And then the people who just don't like crypto are like, who cares, right? I might actually put myself in the who cares category. If it gets 100,000 this year, great, that's awesome. I'm thinking, of course, you guys all know my number, November 2025. That's the day I will start to care. Can a president stop a digital currency from being adopted? Yeah, I don't think single-handedly. He can veto a lot of things that Congress is putting through, and of course, I think he'd be very good to sway the vote of Congress. He has already said that he won't allow it, but remember, the Congress gives a lot of the direction to the FOMC, right? There's direction to the central banks, there's direction to the regulators, so I don't think he can single-handedly stop it, but he could certainly have an influence that would slow it down for a long, long time. Just saw SMCI is joining the S&P 500. I did not see that one. Let me check that here in just a sec. Let's see. What else do I got here? Hold on. I'm going down the list of our questions here. Bitcoin naysayers, airs on fire. So there was a comment here about an Ethereum ETF. I think it will happen. But remember, we still have not heard from Gary Gensler on, is Ethereum a security or is it not, right? And this, again, it just drives me nuts that we have that sort of ineptitude on such a high-power position. I don't know. I don't understand it. If you guys failed at your job that poorly and were incapable of giving your superior an answer that they have asked for years, and you have 5,000 people working for you to come up with that decision, you'd have been fired. Hit the bricks, pal. Beat it. I'll find somebody else who does. Nothing personal. You're just not doing your job. So get out. Until we get that definitive clarity where somebody on document says Ethereum is a commodity, I don't think you're going to have a spot Ethereum ETF. I'm actually kind of surprised we have Ethereum futures because it's still a gray area if Ethereum is an unregistered security. What will happen is over time, we'll see more and more things being either cleared or held back, meaning there'll be declared not a security, and now they can now have an ETF for those. But a lot of them are going to be classified as securities, and that could hurt the crypto industry significantly. What I think it would mean, let's say, for example, Ethereum gets labeled as a security by the SEC. That means that technically they would not be allowed to sell Ethereum on Coinbase, Kraken, Gemini, Binance. Can't sell on, you can't even list them on your exchange because that's an unregistered security. The remedy for that is Ethereum would now have to go through all of these hurdles to meet these financial stipulations that the SEC requires for you to be listed as a security. They have to pay a ton of money to register and get past all of that to become a registered security. Ethereum probably has the firepower and the ability to make it and be considered a security and pass all those hurdles. The vast majority of crypto projects are not going to make it. So just keep that in mind. If you're building a portfolio, think about, here's the Howey test. Here's the criteria that they're selecting and choosing if something is a security or not. If you know there's red flags for your crypto, you may see some pretty big declines in prices when that hammer falls at some point in the future. And that could happen the next couple of years. What else do I have here? Merlin, you're the reason I started researching Bitcoin. I'm glad. Thanks, GS. I'm glad you did too. The more you step back and forget about the money side of it, forget about making money, but look at what Bitcoin means. To me, that's what I'm excited about. It's ownership. It's outside of control of governments. To me, that is, obviously, I want to make money on it, but I just love that knowing that it's outside the scope of any government's reach. That's fantastic to me. Merlin going to set up a GoFundMe. No, I don't need a GoFundMe whiskey account, Steve. You guys have done plenty. I've gotten so many bottles from you guys over the years. My whiskey cabinet is overflowing. I usually just drink on Fridays, so I'm not really putting a big dent in my collection. I definitely think you should consider allowing people to put you on retainer. For what, Tomasina? Retainer for what? What am I going to do? Let's see. You could have paid for your new studio if you had bought Shibu. Remember, 3 words mean nothing. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. You got to go off to see the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Oh, have a great show tonight. Enjoy the concert. And the price starts with a decimal point. Typically, when you see something that starts with a decimal point and a whole bunch of zeros, it's a money grab. It's a shit coin. It's an easy way to figure it out. Let's see. What was that question from Andres? I agree. However, central banks are a big hurdle for cryptocurrencies. Yep, they are. Absolutely. And that's where a lot of the pressure is coming from. I can't fault Elizabeth Warren for some of her comments, although I think she's just batshit crazy. Sorry for swearing. These central banks, it is a threat. I mean, Bitcoin, personally, to me, represents a threat to the US dollar. If I had my choice of holding money in a savings account or holding money in Bitcoin, it's a no-brainer for me. If I keep money in my Chase account and earn 0.01% interest on an asset that's declined every year since 1913, why would I want to do that? Or I can keep it in Bitcoin, and while I'm not earning interest on it, but I am gaining appreciation because it's scarcity. There's a fixed amount, and as demand increases, it's a win-win. So it's a threat to the US dollar for many. Rob wants to know about me getting, I would go to cash. So in November of 2025, if everything does what I think it's going to do, then I will just sell all mine out. I will go to cash. I'll probably go to stable coins or some instrument that's yielding, a small amount of interest. So I'll probably go to a stable coin and maybe I'll get 1 or 2% interest on a stable coin. And then in a year, in 2026, I'll load back up and hopefully buy in 3 times as much Bitcoin as I had in 2025. If SMCI joins the S&P, what would that do to the Russell? It would hurt it because SMCI has been such a big gainer. But remember, it was only like 1.58% of the Russell 2000, right? So it's not like, while it's the biggest and heaviest weighted one, they'll just replace it with something else. Bump up the I don't think it's going to hurt the Russell at all. The Russell certainly had benefited from SMCI, but by taking it out, they lose that little bit of extra firepower, and maybe they put in something else in that index that's going to be a good performer as well. The bigger question, since it's a Russell 2000 and SMCI is 1.58% of that, when it gets added to the S&P, if, I haven't verified this, but if it gets added to the S&P, now all of a sudden, what's its weighting there, right? Because now it could be much more influential because you don't have the other 1,999 stocks to balance it out. I have 502 if it gets added to the S&P. So we'll see about that one. I told my friends about your bar chart prediction video. To incite more buying. I would rather hear to incite more education and understanding, but yeah, I mean, it could incite more buying. All right, let's see what else we got. Gary's days are numbered. I agree with you, Big Eb. I think he's done. Sadly. March 18th will be the day for SMCI during the S&P. So let's look at that real quick, Oliver. Thank you for that one. I haven't checked, so I don't know, but let's go and look at the chart of SMCI. And let's be honest, part of the reason that we're seeing maybe this rally here has been knowledge that this was going to be added to the S&P, right? You might be finding out about this today. I just found out about it today, but I'll be honest, I don't know. I don't know how long this information has been circling. I'm sure that there is a committee within Standard & Poor's that has been, looking at charts and analyzing things and maybe talking to this guy or this team, and that may be part of why we've seen such a phenomenal run. Of course, AI and technology is been doing great, but when you get that addition to an S&P 500, typically what you get is a rally for a period of time. Now, Oliver says March 18th is the day they will be added. So typically what you see is a run that continues all the way through to that date. And then once it gets added, it usually sells off. It's kind of like a stock split, right? So, yeah, I'm not touching it. I'm not going to touch anything that's gone from $300 to $1,000 in less than a month. So that's just way too much for me. All right, what else we got here? John says, banks that are too big to fail can confiscate your account and repair solvent, including stocks, Bitcoin, better for the public. Sure. One of the things, if you watch Mr. Emmers, Representative Emmers, yesterday or day before, grilling Gary Gensler, he is basically saying that he's violating the law by... It was really interesting that Gary Gensler was violating the law by not allowing banks to custody cryptocurrency, which I thought was very interesting. Now, the question I have is, how does that change the landscape of things? If Gensler puts pressure on, or gets pressure from the regulators to okay banks to now custody Bitcoin, what does that do? I'll be honest, there's not 1 cent of my cryptocurrency that I would put at a bank because it's going to be fractional reserve lending again, and I don't trust the banks. They can seize it, they can freeze it, as John just said. So it doesn't make a difference to me. What it does do is it helps facilitate onboarding into digital assets. So if your Chase account, you log into your app on your phone, you go to their website, you go to the ATM, and it says, what do you want to do? Deposit, withdraw, purchase, or redeem Bitcoin or whatever cryptocurrency. The on-ramp now becomes so much easier. To me, that's another catalyst to adoption. And that's what I've been arguing for the last 3 years in my crypto programs at OTA is the adoption factor is what's going to drive crypto to astronomical levels. And a lot of it won't move with it, right? We saw Shiba Inu. No purpose, right? That one will fizzle out. Once regulation comes in, they will shut down Shiba Inu. You won't be allowed to have it on an exchange because it's an unregistered security. Done. Okay, let me, man, I ran through a lot of stuff here today. And I didn't get any questions that rolled through over the night, so I don't have to do anything of that. Oh, yeah. Ohishi whiskey. Good stuff. Okay, let me run through the last little bit here, and that's just going to be looking at what happened today from an economic perspective. I think it was very interesting. The tale that Jerome Powell has been saying in a lot of his FOMC press conferences has been rather positive. You look at the data that came out today, I'm not really so sure about that. Guys, here is the data released today. I'll start at the top. Final manufacturing PMI numbers, slight increase, okay? So we got something positive there. ISM manufacturing PMI, decline. So that's the Institute of Supply Management Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index. Say that one 3 times fast. Whew, that's a doozy. That one's declining. Revised University of Michigan consumer sentiment numbers, also declining, getting worse. We're not as confident as consumers. ISM manufacturing prices. This one was the only big positive star I would see. Prices have been declining, and I think that has to do with a lot of the commodity prices in decline. But here's the one that I did not like. Construction spending. Construction spending was supposed to go from 1.1% increase in our previous month to an increase of 0.2%. We came out actually a contraction. I don't believe that that's a good thing. And you can see here that we've had this nice period since May of last year where construction spending was pretty high. Now all of a sudden we're seeing a contraction number in that. And notice it is seasonal. It does happen. But going into the summer months, this should be good. We should see some spending coming in here. but we're not. So I don't think that's a good one. Of course, when construction spending is going down, think of all the different commodities and marketplaces and businesses impacted by construction. If you don't know what those are, come to my neighbor's house, who's been building a house for almost a year now with sledgehammers and jackhammers and backhoes and lumber and gravel and just drive me crazy over there. They're almost done, folks. Almost done building that house. And the last one you had here was your revised University of Michigan inflation expectations. They expect inflation to stay right at 3%, and that's pretty much the important part. So there we go. There's your economic data for today. Let's take a peek at what happens Monday as we dive deeper into the month of March. March 4th. They bring you really a whole lot of nada for the U.S. There is some international information coming out, but nothing for the United States. And there are no companies reporting earnings on Monday. So let's see. Caterpillar? I don't know about Cat. Yeah. Again, that's one that should be doing well if we see construction spending going up. Caterpillar, you think, maybe not Honeywell, but here's Caterpillar's chart. That Caterpillar has been crawling to the upside. Oh, see what I did there? Like that? Like that? Caterpillar's been looking absolutely fantastic. Talk about a beautiful uptrend. Higher highs, higher lows. Looks like it's ready for a pullback and continue that uptrend. So going into summer months, this is industrial expansion. This is infrastructure being built out. Caterpillar, love it. Love myself a tractor. Rob says, it's positive results on the indexes, energies, and metals. The market went bullish this Friday after FOMC. Yep. And the one thing that I did not look at, I'm curious to see what the changes may have been. Let me wrap up with this one, and then we'll finish this show, which is supposed to be 30 minutes today. But thank you guys again for the hour show. That's right. Love earth movers. You know, you don't have a respect for an earth mover until you've actually shoveled like clay or heavy soils or gravel. I used to, as a kid, I worked construction, and they'll drop off a dump truck full of gravel. Like, okay, we need you to move it over there, and you're like filling up wheelbarrows and like digging and dirt. Oh, back-breaking work. And then you get somebody with a skip loader or just a big backhoe, and you're like, where were you all day? You can do in one scoop what I'm doing in like 30 minutes. One scoop, just done. All right, here is what I wanted to check out. This is, of course, our FOMC forecast. Now, right now, they're expecting the March 20th meeting, which comes out in 19 days, that we're going to stay right where we're at, 95%. Now, how has that shifted? Well, not too much. If you go back 1 month, there was a 62% chance of it staying the same. Now it's 95%. But what about getting into May? All right. Notice that May, there still is a better chance than expected that we're going to see it stay the same. 71% chance that we're going to stay the same by May. Now, June is what I was mentioning as where I think they'll start to taper. That's where you get the higher than average probability of it declining, 55.9% of a cut in June. Now, where was that before? If you go back into February, there was a 5% chance of a 25 basis point cut. Everything else, they all expected more. They were all expecting deeper cuts. And remember, we talked about that, how the analysts and the market is just, I think, over-expecting. So I still am in the camp of later rather than sooner, meaning later on this year versus the next couple meetings. If that inflation number does tick up, if we see energy continue to surge as it has been, then we're going to have that rate cut put on hold. So right now, for me, the most important two charts to look at for rate increases and cuts is this one right here, and that's the 10-year, and this one right here, oil. All right, that's going to do it for me, everybody. I didn't want to get out here before I do a 1 hour show. We're at 54 minutes. So, again, thank you guys so much for all your support and contributions, Coach. I appreciate that. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. If there's something you want me to talk about, if you guys know people in the financial world that you would like to have on the show, just have them email me at TraderMerlin@gmail.com and say, hey, so-and-so mentioned that you want to have guests on your program. I always like having guests on. What I want is good, honest people that actually trade. I don't want people shilling their business. I don't want scammers trying to take my viewership here and do bad things with you. So if you got somebody, just tell them to, if you ever talk to any traders out there and you think they might be interesting, tell them to email me at TraderMerlin@gmail.com and we'll get them on the program. Cheers, everybody. Have a fantastic weekend. Thank you for all that you do. Hope you have some fun this weekend. Do something good. Love your neighbor, and I will see you guys on Monday. Take care.